Y'all, what follows is an interesting tale of my struggle to make two rings. Now, everybody has a style or a thing that they don't like. For me, it's steampunk and spinner rings. When I hear those words, I'm like, ugh. But a friend struggling with anxiety, and these have helped her in the past, so I did it, and then regretted it the whole time because I have struggled with this project more than I've struggled in a long time. But it was totally worth it. The result is awesome. But the struggle allowed me to try two different ways of constructing these and then compare and contrast the results. So we'll go over that at the end. During all of this struggle, it was very tempting to use the magic of editing to just make it look like none of it ever happened. But I wanted to keep it in, especially to show anyone who's learning, my students in particular, that A, the struggle is real. It happens to all of us out of nowhere sometimes. But B, you just got to keep working through it. You keep trying, you keep thinking, you assess what you did wrong or what could have been a possible culprit, and then you start again and you keep going and you don't give up. I could have left it out and made it look like I had no problems, but that's not real, and I want you guys to see Okay, so yesterday I soldered these. Let's see, this one, I've got it soldered to the base, but I still need to trim off the excess. But you can see it's kind of hard for me to grab it, but it spins. Everything's great with this one. Unfortunately, the other one, a part of it got soldered to itself, which I couldn't find my white out yesterday to use as a resist, so I figured that would probably happen. And I heated it and reflowed all the solder, pulled it apart, fixed everything back up, put it back together, re-soldered it, and because I still didn't have my white out, it was a stupid idea, but I did it anyway. The exact same thing happened again, so I'm not sure why. I thought it would be different. Just insanity, I guess. So anyways, this morning I went to reflow the solder again, take it all apart again, having now found the whiteout, and I melted it. Do you know how long it's been since I melted silver? Like, how embarrassing. Okay, but if you're a student and you're watching this, hopefully this is reassurance that sometimes this shit just happens, and it's how you respond to it that really matters. I mean, silver melts. It's gonna happen. So I have regrouped. I have found different patterned wire, and I'm going to build this second ring differently, both to because of the materials that I have left at my disposal. I don't have any more or enough of the sheet left to build it the same way that I built the other ones. But also hopefully this method will stop from soldering to itself again. So I have my inner ring. I've already gotten these kind of canoe shaped and ready to solder. So this ring is taller than it needs to be. And then I've got my patterned ring and 2 plain rings. And I will make them all round and stack them all on to this inner ring, solder the top and solder the bottom. We'll see if that works. Now, in order to not make the exact same mistake that I've been making, I'm coating this baby in whiteout, or in this case, liquid paper. This acts as a resist, and basically it makes the area dirty and the solder won't flow there. There are a few different things you can use as a resist. I mean, there's a commercially available solder resist, but it's kind of pricey. And this works great, and it's super cheap. You can also use yellow ochre, but it kind of runs everywhere. The thing is, you want to find something that's not going to burn off before the solder flows. So like I tried to use some Elmer's glue yesterday because that's what I had, and it was burnt off before the solder flowed, so it did no good. Whiteout though, whiteout works great. It's a little bit of a pain to get off later, but just enough scrubbing will get it off for you. So, guess what happened after I built the ring the new way with the new patterned wire? That's right. It's soldered shut again. Wouldn't spin. I was so mad because I had the white out. I don't know. I think it just, I don't. I think it was a combination of maybe I didn't have the white out quite in the right places. I think I needed to paint it on the ring, the base ring too. And you know, dealing with the kids and kind of not fully paying attention, it just... So when my wife got home, I went to the studio and did it a fourth time. That time it still soldered shut, but not very badly. I put white out like in all the crevices and under and between, and a little tiny bit of it soldered together, and I was able to put my saw in the crevice and get it just enough where I was able to break it with my hand and spin it. And so now I have 2 assembled rings and the finishing begins. All right, so having constructed these rings both ways, we've got the first method, which I call the decking method, where I've got my patterned ring and I laid it down on the sheet, soldered it, cut it out, flipped it over, soldered it, cut it out. And then the ring stacking method, where I had the inner ring and I made plain wire ring, a decorative wire ring, and another plain wire ring, and stacked them and soldered them. I don't really know that one's better than the other. I think it depends on what materials you have at your disposal. The decking method, while it does not involve making a super tight fit, the ring on ring method, those rings have to fit perfect, or you're going to get solder pits and gaps. While the decking method is a little easier, it does require more material. And then you have waste, where you cut out the part where your finger goes through. You could use that for a necklace or something, but it is kind of not ideal. And that's another material you have to have on hand. But and that was challenging when it came time to saw off the excess, because I wanted the design to stick up a little bit past the decking edges. And so cutting that off without cutting my design off of my wire was challenging. The ring on ring method, I kept having to resize the wire rings because they would be too small, which is fine. I'd stretch them a little and then I'd go too far and they wouldn't be a super tight fit. The other major issue with the wire method is that when I messed it up, I was not able to pull it apart. Like with the decking method, you heat it, you reflow the solder, and because it's just on there, you just pick it up. And you can reuse your materials. But with the wire, it was on there so tight that I could not get that off. So I had to completely start over. And that was a little disheartening. So the wire method uses less materials, but you do have to be more precise. And then I did notice that the edges were not, some of them, it was real easy to get like little dips in those outer wire rings, whereas with the decking method, because that's using the width of the sheet metal as the sidewalls, they were very uniform. So I don't really know that one's better than the other. I think it depends on how your brain works, which one you understand better, where your skill set is, and what materials you have. But we ended up with 2 rings that work well. The customer's happy, and that's really what matters.